welcome to another episode of the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show. That show where we talk about all the crazy stupid stuff that people do in marketing and what they can perhaps do instead. So they're not doing a bunch of things over and over that are getting them no results, which is kind of where the definition of crazy and stupid comes from. But doing things that actually matter. And today I have one of my favorite thought ideation partners in the studio today, which I'm super excited for. And we're going to be talking about social enablement. Ooh. Yes, that's right, folks. It's one of those new catchphrases that everybody's talking about that nobody really knows what it means. So we're going to talk about it today and we're going to break it down so it's hopefully easy to understand. But just like every topic we talk about on this show, there is a U factor that comes to play when it comes to social enablement. And so because there's a U factor, and while Tracy and Eric could talk for a very long time about a variety of different things, we would like to hear your voices as part of the conversation too. So we'd love to hear your questions about what is it look like to be social? What does it actually look like to be enabled? Are the tech tools that we're using, enabling people, whatever questions you might have on the social enablement front, we would love to hear them. And by hear them, I mean read them, because we cannot hear you today. We can read your chats though. So get in the chat and even just to say, hey, I'm here and I'm curious about social enablement, or WTF, what is social enablement? And we can answer all of those questions. Also, if you happen to be a social enablement professional, ooh, is that a thing already? I don't know. Probably. People are calling themselves that, I'm sure. If you are one and you have insights and perspectives that you would like to add to the conversation, please do that as well through that fantastic little chat. Yeah. That way. I don't know. And I don't even know if people see it the same. I always point the wrong direction. I think about it and I'm like, yes, I'm going to get it right. And then I get it wrong. But get into the conversation. This is a conversation for all of us. Before we get started, Eric, I know you very well, but perhaps the peeps don't know you quite as well. So would you like to tell a little bit about yourself and why you care so much about enabling people socially?
Very much so. Thank you so much for the invitation to come on your wonderful show. I think this is my second time back.
Yep.
This is great.
Yeah. So you were so good the first time you got an invite back.
So good last time, you made me wait a year and a half until you invited me back, but that's okay.
I mean, it's a popular show. What can I say?
I know, exactly. And also for our listeners out there, when Tracy and I used to work together, because we had a commercial pass together, all of our meetings were on UK time, and this poor person had to get up at like 6 a.m. in the morning to attend meetings that I'd set for 2 p.m., 3 p.m., really convenient UK times. She's got her own back because it's 8 p.m. here in Scotland, because I'm broadcasting live from Aberdeen in Scotland. Thank you, Tracy. Great to be here. Wonderful to be. Always great to see you. Crux, yeah, we help people with what we call digital B2B influence. We've broadened out our service range extensively. We now do AI consultancy, and we do a roaring trade in something that I feel is really important and is beautifully married with that whole digital B2B influence piece, which is business storytelling. Business storytelling, helping organizations put their stories to work and understanding the art and science of storytelling, the arc of a good story, and how it works to enhance your pitches, your digital content, the way you speak to your teams, the way you speak to your clients, all of that. And I've got something else that I could talk about later on, but that's what it is. So that's Mohammed loves Aberdeen. That's brilliant. Fantastic. We found the one person on the planet. Well done, Mohammed. So yeah, we've devoted a big portion of our lives and our sort of vocational time to enabling people, professionals, organizations, PLCs, SMEs, startups to take advantage of their commercial digital worlds. We talk about a digital twin. On this side of the world, there's the analog world that we all grew up in, and things worked, and you put out an advert and purchase orders started flying through the door and everything was great. And we realize, everybody realizes, if you're being brutally honest with yourself, that there are a range of techniques that are losing their efficacy, or that efficacy has altered in some way and needs to be played out in another way. I don't think anything is dead. I don't think anything is dead at all.
Man, people still successfully use radio, okay?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But on this other side, this digital twin of our sectors has grown up. We talk about the fact that some digital twins are really evolved in some sectors, in some aspects of markets. It's highly likely that in your special niche sector of B2B world, B2B commercial activity, that your digital twin is underdeveloped. And there's an opportunity for you to get into that digital twin, put a pin down and say, the conversation about everything it is that we do, that we're specialist at, that we've got history in, that we've got great thought leadership in, and we're actually really great at doing, the conversation is around us. The access point to that, whether you like it or not, is through the strategic application of social media, right? So yeah, we'll meet many people who tell us that their company's struggling, they're struggling with sales, they're struggling with the future. What does the forecast look like? 0 quarters, things like that. Just like, you know, head pounding things. And then when we describe and outlay what this digital twin of their sector looks like, they'll still say to this day, it's not for us. We're not that type of organization.
And I mean, one of the things that I believe about marketing is you can't sell somebody who doesn't think they need what you have, right? You don't need running shoes. Nobody's going to sell, you're not going to buy running shoes. It's just the way it is. But it's so interesting. This is one of the reasons why I love the show, to be honest with you, because the whole point of the show is just to like allow people access to some of these ideas where like you might see them in passing on the internet and be like, what is this digital twin? People talk about digital twins. Like, I'm an analog company. I'm oil and gas, right? Like we don't have digital twins. And like, what does that even mean? But like, let's talk about it in words that people understand. And it's also why, like, I encourage you, if you're watching this show, to ask the questions in your words so that we can create framing in words that helps you really get a feel for like, yes, that's for us, or no, that's not for us, in like a real way, instead of just like, I'm kind of overwhelmed by this information and I stopped paying attention a while ago, so I'm just gonna say it's not for me. Let's not give up on things just because we don't understand, but also what else can we on the marketing side be doing to help people understand things? Okay, so Eric, in your introduction, you touched on a whole bunch of things. And again, if you're watching live, please share your questions if there's anything in particular that you want to dive into, because there's no predefined paths here. We'll go wherever you guys want us to go. But you used the word influence a couple of times. And so when you're saying influence, what does that mean to you? And what might it mean to other people? Because I'm sure it doesn't mean the same thing to everybody.
It's a brilliant question. And if you'd come into my office in 2016, early 2017, when I was running a small energy service contractor, I was a proper engineering-based businessman and said, I'd like to talk to you. It's all about creating influence in digital channels. It's all about building digital communities and becoming the leading technical and commercial digital thought leaders in your sector. That's going to transform your commercial world. I would have said, excuse me, I've clearly walked into the wrong meeting. I shouldn't be here because this is nonsense. Right. So I actually think this puts me in a really good position because I meet lots of people who are still in the position that I was in. Right. So I've totally been there, absolutely been there, and then had a bucket of water chucked over me. There was an event that happened to me which made me go, how did that happen? How did that happen? How did that little synapse occur between two professionals in a very serious conservative sector? How did that happen on social media, which resulted in a very lucrative project further down the line, and a company changing number and frame agreement? How did that happen? That was the very first domino that fell for me in this digital world. I went to my marketing director, I went to my sales director and said, all of this money that we spend, and I'm not criticizing, we won a great job and it was wonderful. And all of you guys were involved at some point, but tell me how, please, like Joe Pesky, tell me now, tell me how all of the money that we spend on your salaries in sales and marketing, on advertising, on our website, on events, on brochures, on the sign that we have at Aberdeen Airport, all of those things, none of this got us to make that little connection with that professional who then wanted to know more about us, had us in to see them, and then a chain of events occurred to allow us to win this big, massive project. How does that happen how did it happen on social media? How does it work? None of them could tell me, so I went away to find out. So what was the original question?
The definition of influence.
The definition of influence, right? So when I go into offices, when I go into Zoom conference rooms, or what I prefer to do is go in person and meet people in person, I will talk about the fact that our ambition is to make you the leading influencer in your sector. And you can see lots of people with a little bit of sick right here. You know, influencer strikes fear into people's hearts that it's going to be, you know, influencers selling.
Right, they got to be like Kim Kardashian.
You've got to be like Kim Kardashian. You've got to be selling sneakers, or you've got to be on Love Island. You've got to be an influencer. And what we're talking about is technical and commercial influence. How do you influence people who have never met you in that business-to-business space, in different regions, different geographies, in different worlds where they've maybe even never heard your company name? How do you influence them to do something? Now, that could be to lift the phone. That could be to interact with your content. That could be to get in touch with your business. That could be to sit at their next meeting, their next commercial meeting, where they're planning on buying the kind of services that you do, and saying, have you heard of this company? I've been really influenced by their content, by their digital presence, by everything that they're doing. How do you do that? How do you do that? Because that doesn't come for free. That's not just chuck up some content, everything will be cool, and suddenly purchase orders will come in, our investors will be thrilled, the bank will be thrilled. We are absolutely killing it. The whole idea of creating influence in a technical and commercial world is an art and a science. An art and a science. And it's something that we encourage professionals in all walks of life, all disciplines, to get into. But that doesn't come without a little bit of drama. And usually that's because of dyed-in-the-wool, cemented, very conservative marketing processes and beliefs. So we typically, the people that we will talk to will be, or the people that we'll engage with will be senior people in the organization, right? There'll be the CEO, the managing director, the head of operations, the CFO, whoever it will be, will either catch their attention and a series of dialogue will start. What does this mean? What's all this stuff? I'm really intrigued. You're saying it can open up to new markets. This is amazing. Does it really work? Well, why don't we set up something and I'll come and explain it to you? Typically at that meeting, there will be the head of marketing, vice president, head of marketing, marketing director, marketing manager, whoever it might be. And there's, over the years that we've been doing this, there's a sort of Groundhog Day moment that comes where we talk about enabling all of the people in this organization, from your accountants through to your HSE people, your quality people, your leadership team, your salespeople, marketing people, of course, but all of the people who have intelligence, who have history, experience, specialism, personalities. When we start to play out from a thought leadership, really playing out into influence, we're trying to influence people to want to join your company, to want to invest in your company, to want to hire your company. When we get into that, the more people that we can have across disciplines creating that influence. So your head of engineering creating influence in the engineering sectors of your client base, your head of safety creating influence within the heads of safety in your client base, all across all of the different disciplines, you suddenly become a much more powerful force. That influence is now becoming measurable, and it's something that we can really get our teeth into, and something we can do something with. And we can take action with it. So we're not talking about turning everybody into sneaker selling, lipstick selling, whatever it might be, influencers in the sort of Love Island sense. We're talking about technical and commercial influence. And that is the game-changing element to all of this. So we encourage people from all walks of life at all ages, so the 55-year-old CEO, through to the 60-year-old, vice president of accounts, or whatever it might be, that they have as much to give as any young, thrusting, socially minded person. And it's about enabling those people to be comfortable, to be competent, and to be a little bit courageous, because we'll typically come across people who are, 40 plus, whatever. They've been busy creating wonderful lives and being very, very technical and very commercial. And this social media thing's passed them by, right? It might look like a little bit of a joke. I'll typically hear things like, well, I'll do my whole thing and I'll talk about, this is your new digital future, access to your digital twin. This is how it works, blah, 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 blah. This is how we're going to use AI to augment and support you and make life easier for you. This is how we're going to bring in business storytelling to get that rich and diverse story element out there to the digital world. And this is how we're going to convert that into relationships that will turn into economic opportunity. And that's what you're telling me you need. And this is the route to it. Yeah, social media for me is just, something the kids do. Something the kids do, something that the kids do, and my feed is just full of nonsense. I hear this a lot. I've someone will sit back proudly and go, I get rid of 1,000 people from my network. I just cut them. It's just rubbish. I just cut them right out. If someone posts more than 3 times a week on LinkedIn, I get rid of them because they're just annoying me. Just annoying me.
Those people aren't watching this show because I come up way more than that.
So it's about asking people to take a breath, asking people to park preconceptions about what social media is in the B2B sense, and learn new skills and learn a new mindset, learn a new approach, learn new processes that they can discharge every day to help their commercial outlook, their commercial plans, their commercial futures. A proper method of working, a process, which is not making people in their 40s or 50s do TikTok videos dancing to The Weeknd. It's unless they really want to.
I was going to say maybe they really want to, and then it's fine.
That's fine, and we can enable them with that. But it's about enabling people. It's like unlocking a door and saying, "Look, have a look through there at what's happening. Have a look through there. This is the key for you to get through this door. And I'm going to teach you what's going to happen when we open this door, how to get over these little hills, cross those little streams, and get to where all the action is that you can really take advantage of. And you can do what you do brilliantly. Lots of people think when we talk about social enablement, it's about giving up all of the stuff that we loved. Many people believe that digital B2B influence, social enablement is about just getting to a point where you're just handing everything over to bots. And we're not like that, Eric. We are people to people company. That's the type of people we are. We do best person to person. And the whole thing about that is creating a bigger community of people that you can tap into to do what you do best. Do what you do best.
You can be, okay, yeah, I could rant on that for a second, but I want to get to the questions in the chat because there are some good questions. Mohammed, I recognize that your question came in first, but I think it makes sense to answer Dan's question first and then layer yours on top of it. So I'm going to go to Dan's first. And Dan is sharing, so this can apply on the company level and on the personal level. What advice do you have on getting all of the non-marketing people in a company to take a serious look at their personal brand to build the influence of the company as a whole? And I guess a layer I would put onto that, Eric, is that is this really about, at the end of the day, it's about building the company as a whole, but it's really about building your technical expertise, right? And then it reflects in a positive way on the company because then you're like, look at all this positive expertise that we have in the market. I feel like personal branding, if we want to use that phrase, it's about you building your brand. So whether that's you want to go and work at somewhere else, you want to look at moving up in your company, there's so many pros to that. So, but I'll take it back to Dan's question. What's some advice you have for non-marketers on why they might want to do this as part of...
Thank you, Dan. And thank you to the lovely questions that are coming in. Thanks to everyone for being here. So Dan, your question is, does this apply on the company? Can this apply on the company level and on the personal level? What advice do you have on getting all the non-marketing people in a company to take a serious look at their personal brand? So my first piece of advice was, don't start with personal brand. Don't start. We've jumped too many steps. And that's where a lot of people are getting really messed up with all of this, is that they're seeing that their competition or their peers in other companies are getting content out there, and they seem to be doing stuff. So let's get content out there. Let's get content. Let's throw pies at the wall and see what happens. Content. Everyone rush to content. I use this analogy. I've probably used it too many times. Jumping to content to help brand you is the equivalent of walking out into a tree-covered forest and saying, we're going to build a house here. First job, let's buy some wallpaper. So that is, we are resulting to wallpaper when there's a whole heap of work to be done to build the foundation, get the walls in, get the roof on, get the services in, get the windows and doors in, and then once we've got that position all sorted and we're all licensed and certified and all of that sort of stuff, we can then think about the wallpaper, and we can then think about the other elements that are going to build into this. We need to sit down and we need to work out as a team what we want to get from this, how difficult it's going to be, what sort of challenges are we going to have, how are we going to mitigate those challenges, and what are we really here for? What is the end game? Many people have jumped to content. So typically we'll go into conference rooms and people will tell us, yeah, we've been doing social media now for 5 years and it's doing nothing for us. It's giving us nothing. Social media will give you nothing. It will give you nothing. It's just a place for you to create the space for things to happen. And if you haven't done that properly, we find that people get themselves in all sorts of trouble. We've got one or two people who put out weird content in the company and nobody understands why and thinks they're being a bit strange. We've got one or two people who completely ignore it and are kind of like against the other two people in the company. We've got this weird infighting going on and these weird little silos building. We don't want any silos. We want everyone to be working to a clear plan, everybody to have all of the tools and understanding that they need. A great part of this is getting the understanding in there, how it all works and what the end game is. So before we start getting to personal brands and all of that, we need to sit down as a team. We need this really handled, not by, I don't mean this in a bad way, not handled by the head of marketing, handled by someone on the leadership team. Ideally the CEO, ideally the CRO, ideally the managing director, to sit down and say, I believe there's a place for us in this digital world. I believe that we can enhance our commercial position because I've been reading up about this and I understand it. And I'm going to support you guys and myself to learn and put a great strategy in place that's going to include our personal branding. It's going to include our thought leadership. It's going to include our influence. It's going to include how we can use AI and business storytelling to pull all of this through. But when we start to measure it, it needs to make a measurable impact. It needs to make, so the first point, can this apply on a company and personal level? Blend the two. If you have the most, say you were an engineering company. If you were an engineering company and 3 of your engineers were recognized as the leading engineering thought leaders in your sector digitally, they will be taking all of the digital conversation. Is that a bad thing? And they'll be doing it on your behalf. Lots of people think, well, if we make everybody go social and everybody's on social media and they start looking brilliant, we're going to lose everyone. No one's leaving your company because they were good on social media. No one is leaving your company. They're leaving your company because they want to leave your company and go somewhere else. So the gains to be had by putting this little digital army out there into this digital twin of your world, sharing all their influence, attracting all the attention of people who've never heard of them before. All right, you know, so there's a company in Canada that does this, and look at their stuff. They're speaking directly to our brains and our hearts. This is phenomenal stuff. We've never heard about them before. We need to get in touch with them, influencing decisions. So yes, it does apply at company level through the personal level. That's the enablement part. Thank you, Beth.
Well, and I'm just feeling called to share this example because this happened to me recently. Is that so? Calgary Stampede. It's a big networking time of the year for us Calgarians, and I had a coffee chat with a lady who I met last week after she met 2 different people at a single Stampede event that were like, "Do you know Tracy?" And she was like, "Who is this Tracy person? Why do I need to know who it is?" But that's the and like, did I ask those people to talk about me? No, I didn't. Do I know specifically in what context it came up? No, because I was not there. But the point is that, like, I created enough of an experience for them that whatever they were talking about, I came up in the conversation, and it influenced someone else to reach out to me to try and get more information. And this is the point of influence. Is it is indirect by nature, but I think I recently was introduced to the concept of Lux surface area, and I just love it so much, because this is the point, right? The more people who know me, the greater chance I have of coming up in a memory in a conversation. And therefore I increase my Lux surface area, because I don't know where that's going to be, and I don't have to be there in order for that to happen. That can happen without me being present. So I'm gonna go back, because Dan has a follow-up question to his question. So are you saying that the strategic guidance for the development of the social strategy should not come from the marketing team itself, but come from executive decision?
We found in our studies, our data shows that the most successful B2B strategic digital influence campaigns come when they're supported and maybe even originated by the leadership team. And then our marketing team are given a remit and a budget and space and support and time to create the environment to create that amazing social influence in the B2B space. Our data shows that when it's an idea that's come from marketing, not supported by the leadership team, it is bound to fail and be one of those things that we did. And in 6 months' time, when there was 10 people originally, now there's 2 people left that are still doing it. And it doesn't really have that edge that it had. And the strategic application of social media in the digital B2B influence sense was just a thing that we did 6 months ago.
Right. Yeah.
So our data shows the most successful efforts in this, because we're talking about a business transformation here, not a marketing campaign.
Right.
And when you put,
I think that's the big difference, because when people think about things, especially a quote unquote social strategy, to use Dan's phrasing, it seems like something that originates within the marketing team. But also what I'm hearing you say, Eric, is that really this is call it a business transformation or a digital transformation, but at the same time, this really has a lot to do with the culture of the organization, and saying we're going to be in this together, because we're going to decide that this is the direction we're going, or marketing is going to do a campaign.
Yeah, and it's just going to be one of those board line items at the board meeting where someone's going to read out what marketing's doing. Yeah, we're spending $100,000 on this. We're spending $200,000 on that. We're spending $50,000 on that. And yeah, they're doing some social media thing with the team.
Right. And again, I'm just going to say this, just in case anybody who's on a board is listening to this, you're allowed to ask questions about the marketing spend and ask why you're not seeing any results for those line items. Just saying. Just in case you're watching and you're on a board.
There's a phenomenon, Tracy, and it's been borne out in a good five interfaces that I've come across, where I do this talk, an introduction to digital B2B influence, and it's an in-person. It's like an hour-long TED talk. It's got fun, it's got sadness, it's got reality, it's got everything. It's entertaining, it's shocking, but it's about and we get people to stand up, and ask the entire team. Whether I think the biggest I've done it is to 300 people. Everyone stand up, please. If you can, please stand up. Number one, who uses social media for work? Most people stay standing. Brilliant. Who regularly creates content? I mean, more than twice a week, creates content which relates to your specialism, your thought leadership, and all of that. You lose a chunk of the audience, right? That's amazing. Okay, who can directly tie the results of your social media efforts in the B2B sense to the bottom line performance of your company? We've got 5 left. We've got 5 left. And I'll get through it. I think there's another question. The very last one is, who in this room is the leading technical and commercial digital influencer in their B2B sector? Everybody sits down. I must have done this a dozen times. And therein lies my point. The ability for us to get on that path and towards becoming that leader in our digital B2B sectors is available to all of us. But very few of us actually take the opportunity to learn and to go in and say, I'm putting the pin down for our company. My team are with me. We're all here, and we're going to start to build this influence and attract people towards us. We're going to create communities that look upon us as being the true voice in our sectors for the kind of solutions that people need.
Mm-hmm. And I think this is the thing too, right? Like that, owning that kind of thought leadership in your industry and having a social media strategy are like two completely different things, right? Like either one of them is goal related. I'm going to own this conversation. This is going to be us. Everybody who wants to be in this conversation is going to go through us. Versus like, okay, let me go to ChatGPT and generate a social media strategy, and then I'll just like give it to my marketing coordinator and they will go do stuff. Check, we have a social media strategy. Yeah. I mean, like, again, this comes back to like, why are we doing this, right? If we don't know why we're doing it, then I tell people just like, stop it. Just like stop doing it and see if stopping doing that actually has any kind of negative impact, because usually it's not going to. But like, why are you doing it? Are you doing it because someone on TikTok told you that you should? Or you're doing it because you know why you're doing it for your business, for a specific result? And so, okay, I'm going to come back to Mohammed's question because he's been waiting very patiently for us to answer this. Was the first question in the lineup. How can you socially enable someone / company / organization when he, she, it is not a social enabled person / identity? So in other words, in real life, some people are social while others are simply not. And so what does it actually look like to socially enable people, knowing that there's different ways being social might manifest?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question, Mohammed. Thank you so much. So I'm going to take a very recent example of working with a client where we had a real diverse. We had 12 people on this program, a real diverse diagonal slice of types of people. We had people on there who loved social media, and it was very natural for them to become strategic in the B2B sense because they already had maybe advanced Facebook accounts, so they were very into TikTok or Instagram or whatever it was. They had Instagram with a couple of thousand followers, and they were on it twice a day doing their thing. So the whole idea of being on social media was not a problem. All the way through every personality type and every perspective on social media, all the way through to, I have 35 followers on LinkedIn. I've never posted content in 15 years. I think I'm too old. I don't think I have a voice. I don't think I'm relevant. And if I'm being really pushed, I think it's all a lot of nonsense. Right? So how do you take multiples of that person, which I've come across before, a company which is completely digitally invisible? They have a website and they think they're pretty advanced because they have a website. And I'm not criticizing them. For some companies, having a website is proper digital advancement, right? That's amazing, right? This has been a big thing for them. They're very proud of it, and it's very cool. And they get inquiries through it, and it's great. None of them really have social media accounts. None of them are very social savvy. None of them are very digitally comfortable. So we meet people where they are. We meet people where they are. We have to. We're coaches, right? We can't just come in and say, this is the way forward. Who's with me? And if you're not, you're an idiot. It's never going to work. We need to meet people where they are. I have never met a candidate yet, regardless of their position, mental position, their history or experience with digital channels, who haven't, once they've been shown a framework and we've found the way that we want to position them. So what do I mean by that? We might find that Colin is an operations director. He can't really stand social media. He doesn't have a lot of social media accounts. He has a LinkedIn account because you're supposed to. He's in 15 years, never posted content, doesn't have a profile, doesn't have any of that. I don't want to post content. Okay, that's the opening start. I don't want to post content, right? So we'll go through the foundational elements. We'll teach you all the basics. And then we need to get into the point where we need to start flexing your content muscle. So what is it that you stand for as a person? I don't know what you mean. Drilling down on what we call their digital identity, finding out what they really think is important to them in their sectors, to their peers. So what you'll generally get out of that, with my example with Colin, is I want to be known as a person who's technically proficient. I want to be known as a person who's helpful. And I want to be known as a person who goes the extra mile to help clients with solutions. Let's build would you be comfortable putting content out around that? Yeah, I think I would, because it's kind of in me. So not silly stuff. No, Colin, this was never meant to be silly stuff. We want to position you as a specialist. I once asked a client who was being very belligerent, didn't want to do it, was told to be on a program, and didn't really want to be there. I said, who are the top 3 people in the world that do what you do? And he said, well, there's a guy in New York, a guy in Japan, and there's me. And the reason I know that is we wrote all the papers. We wrote all the example papers. We are all doctors in our sectors, in our industrial sectors, and we wrote all the guidance notes and papers. And I said, right, fine, okay, give me their names. I went away. The next day I came back, had a call, did some research. All of you, all 3 of you are invisible apart from your published books. You're digitally invisible. How about the idea of positioning you as the voice of this very serious sector that you work in, this very academic industrial space, being the voice on digital? Would that be attractive to you, to cut through all this, what you call fluff and noise on social media, with really learned, educational, insightful content about that serious topic that you do? And he said, I think I would be up for that because I can write. So it's about, how do you socially enable a company that's not social, and how do you enable people that are not social? You meet them where they are. And our job as coaches is to find out the best routes to market for you without just overlaying a pushy process or a thing that's going to work. So typically in a cohort with us, we'll have different approaches, 6 people with 6 different approaches to get to the same aim. And that's, you've got to meet people where they are and do it on their terms, with a little bit of hand holding, shoulder grabbing, and saying, come on, we can do this. It's fine. It's secure. It's secure. And we know where you're going. We're not going to make you look silly. We're not going to make you dance in a mankini on TikTok unless you want to, brackets. But, you know, if you want to be seen as this learned, academic, super bright, super helpful person, and also realize that when you put out content like that, you're going to prick up the ears of hundreds of thousands of people in your potential prospect sector to go, finally something on social media I can jive with. That's amazing.
Well, and I think that's an interesting thing, right? Because a lot of people have this experience on social media that it is people posting pictures of foods and puppies and stuff, and you're just like, that's not what I would talk about on social media. And we forget to give ourselves the permission to say, like, okay, well, if other people want to use it for that, other people can use it for that. That's fine. Okay. Except I want to talk about this, and I want to clarify what people think this industry is, because there's so much confusion in this, or people are getting really bad advice. This, again, one of the reasons this show exists. People are getting really bad advice from the internet. So, like, I would like to give people a place where they can get good advice, real advice.
Yeah, I just like all of us, we're all on LinkedIn and other channels right now. I see the same stuff every day as well, and it really, when I see what we've been through, you and I have been through, when we are moving and supporting a client cohort, regardless of what sector, geography, whatever it is, through to this social enablement piece. And we know how difficult that can be for them, and we know what the pitfalls are, and how much of a safety net you need to give those beautiful people in order for them to be able to make a success of this, because they're not just throwing money at you to come and just give social media a try. Too many of the organizations we work for, this is the difference between being open for business and closing, right? Preparing for the future, preparing for a future that they're actually losing. Lots of them feel as if this digital rope has been pulled through their hands, and they just want to be able to grab on. So giving them a mechanism to do that. But you know, that pressure. So I read all this stuff all the time. I saw something the other day, some person who was just saying, hey, everybody out there in the B2B space, I get asked all the time, what do you do with content? And I'm just like, just be yourself. I just, honestly, it makes me a little bit upset, to be quite honest, when we see how much work and effort it takes. Telling someone to just be themselves on social media is the equivalent of taking a 15-year-old kid, chucking them some car keys, and they go, but I can't drive. And you go, just be yourself. It'll be fine. Just be yourself. Just be
It's
yourself.
a really good example.
Yeah, let's go out onto the highway. It's 85 miles an hour, but just be yourself. It'll be fine.
It's fine.
Be yourself.
I get that one drives me nuts too, because okay, the problem isn't that people don't get the idea of being themselves. The problem is that people don't know how to be themselves on social media.
Yeah.
Or they don't know enough about how to be themselves. They've worked in an environment for 10, 20, sometimes 30, 40 years where they've never had to show up that way, right? They have their way, they show up, and that's what's comfortable, and that's how humans build comfort, by doing the same things. And a lot of times now we're saying do something different, but I want to help you to figure out how you would do that, right?
How to make it comfortable and easy and repeatable for you on your terms, so that we're all moving forward as a team. I've uncovered, this isn't an academic discovery, but I was thinking about how in the B2B world have we ended up in this position. So I've written a little paper on this. I might not do anything with it. I've found, and I've been asking people where they did their marketing degrees. And in the main, albeit there's maybe 4 or 5 different types of courses at some of the universities, even locally, right, that are in that marketing space. All of these, Mohammed's off to be himself.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Go do it, everyone.
Yeah, fantastic. Great to have you with us. So they all go to university. They all do these amazing marketing degrees that give them all this passion and this creativity and all these ideas, and then they are on the open market looking for work. Some of them on the same university course go and work for creative agencies in the B2C space and just live the dream. Just live the dream. They're doing creative adverts.
They live the dream for 2 years and then they get burned out. But that's another part of the story.
They live the dream for 2 years and then they get burnt out and they get disillusioned. But they're in that space where it's all about creativity. Why? Because that B2C space has always had the embarrassment of riches over the B2B space when it comes to the types of media channels they can use. They've had radio and TV and newspapers and magazines for years. With the B2B space, trade magazines, events, brochures, who wants to be sitting watching your favorite film at night and the adverts come on and go, our project management services are second to none, in between the Coca-Cola and the Red Bull advert. You know what I mean? It's just, so when the internet came along, the B2C people had another channel that they could add. So they jumped on it really, really quickly. The B2B people said, right, okay, let's just do what we've always been doing, but just do it on the digital channels. So the B2C people pulled up here, the B2B people who did the same things at university. And so yeah, the university split. Some of them went to work with the B2C world, creativity, fun, engagement, amazing campaigns, guerrilla stuff, fabulous. All the money. The people that went into the B2B world carried the same enthusiasm and creativity and the same degree into the B2B world and said, hi, I've arrived. I'm your new marketing coordinator and I've got lots of ideas. And they're like, sit down, do what we do. We're going to put you in a box and we're going to squeeze you into a little cuboid.
Put all of this really technical information into a PDF and make it look pretty.
Yeah. So I find all these beleaguered, wonderfully talented, creative marketing people who've taken the right-hand channel and I'm going into B2B. This is amazing. My mom and dad said it would be great to work for Shell or to work for Deloitte and Touche or whatever it is. And I go there and I jump in with my Stanley Cup and my my East Pack, and I've got my Converse on, and they're like, we don't do that stuff here. We just put out adverts, very conservative brochures. We've got a very conservative website. That's what we do. So you just help us do that, okay? You just help us do that. So the net result of that is when we go into rooms and we have these conversations about enabling the team, it's often the case that the marketing lead will get a little bit ruffled because that's my thing. I create demand in this organization. That's my, you're saying we're going to use a cross-functional team, a cross-discipline team to create influence in digital markets that's going to create demand and which is going to increase sales or investment or hires or whatever it is. That's my job. So a big part of that hand-holding and meeting people where they are is letting marketing people know that this isn't taking anything away from you. It's giving you more. It's giving you more. Because when we leave, you're going to take this over and you're going to drive this and you're going to have a whole team of people helping you create what you're supposed to do which is create demand.
Mhm.
It's not just you and your other colleague that you're always moaning about. There's only 2 of us in the organization, and there's so much to be done. You've now got an army of people creating demand, and you can steer that, and you can measure it, and you can point it in the direction that you want, but you've now got lots more people enabled to help you create demand.
Mm-hmm. Okay, before I miss this, Mohammed would like your paper. So I don't know if you're distributing it, but if you are, send it to Mohammed.
100%. 100%.
And I think, okay, I know we're running out of time, but I want to make sure that we touch on this because I think a lot of times when people are talking about...
Let's enjoy it. Let's stay.
We'll just stay all night.
Do an all-nighter.
You mentioned AI, Eric, and I think a lot of times when people are in the conversation about social enablement, there's like AI tools that are going to offload this for you, so your people don't have to be socially enabled. The AI is going to do it for them. And you mentioned that you guys do AI types of pieces with your business as well. So can you talk a little bit about how AI plays a role in social enablement and what role humans need to maintain?
So I can and I can't.
Okay.
Can and I can't. So the approach that we take is we help companies examine where instead of just saying hi Eric, we read your thing about AI in operational efficiency and we'd love to talk to you. Okay, so we'll go in, we'll have a chat and I'll run them through. This is what we're doing with AI. Okay, we want AI in. Why? Our investor says it'd be really cool. Our investor says it'd be really cool, and none of us understand what any of it means. So can we get some of that AI in?
Yeah, everybody needs AI in their business right now, or nobody's investing in it.
We need to say AI in our website. Allegedly, our investor or our shareholders are saying we need AI on the website. So we're just going to write AI on our website, but we think we should maybe have some AI understanding. So before we get into any discussions about using it for marketing or using it for this or using it for that, we do a from a quality perspective, where's the need? Where's the need? Lots of people are jumping to AI because we want to tell everyone we're using AI because it's really cool. Right. In many cases, AI is not the solution. In many cases, AI will be a brilliant efficiency and market aid for you. So we start right at the center. What are the top 10 things that you're doing as a company that are costing you too much time, that you believe right now are inefficient, costing you too much money, and just duplication of effort and all of that? What are the top? You should know that because you're an ISO 9001 company. You should understand your processes, right? So typically there'll be something that goes on in accounts payable, which is just a total disastrous waste of time, duplication. And then Margaret takes it over to Joanne. Joanne gives it to John. He countersigns it and takes it upstairs, and it waits in an in tray for 4 years. And then someone comes back and signs it and processes it. And then there's 18 other things and different tools and apps that we need to use to get to the fact that it says yes. So things like that, inefficient processes, and where is AI going to help? Typically, what will come up in that is how we're using AI to help our marketing, but it's not our first approach. It's not our first approach. Where is AI going to be needed? Where is it definitely not needed, but you currently think it'd be really cool to squeeze AI in there? We've gone into organizations that are very proud of the fact that they're using AI in HR, and we go into HR and they say, well, we're told to use this AI tool because our investors or our shareholders or someone wanted to say that HR are using AI, but we actually are now running 2 systems because we don't really understand the AI thing, but our board want to say that we're getting AI reports. So we're actually using our old systems and AI.
And I would guess that is not unusual.
Not unusual. So there's a call for CAM with AI. There's a call for reason. There's a call for measure and a call for applying AI solutions once you're absolutely sure that there can't be an analog fix. If there cannot be an analog fix, and we've done the maths, and there is an AI solution which will absolutely help to tick those boxes and achieve that result, then we will bring in an AI solution and we will tech source and we will run tests and we will prove that this will save these amount of hours, this amount of money, this amount of hassle, this amount of drama. And in many cases that pulls through. So I'm not the best proponent to come in here and say, for content, you should use this. For images, you should use that. For text, you should use this. For client insights, you should use that. It's about the holistic thing, which includes all of that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that comes back to kind of this I wrote an article yesterday and called it the role of marketing, right? Like
Mhm.
what is it that we're here to do? And like if there are things that we're doing that we think can be improved or automated or what have you, then like let's look at that. But also, I'm sure you've seen this too, Eric, like the number of things that I see people automate or have AI doing instead of a person that are things that you don't need to be doing anyway. It's a lot of things. Now you just automated a bunch of stuff that wasn't actually contributing to your business in the first place. And
And
high five.
have you really considered the impact? Have you
Right.
really looked at the knock-on impact? What's this going to be like in 3 months, 6 months, a year? Are we going to be in a mess?
Right.
AI was supposed to make things easier, but actually you've just jammed it in so awkwardly that it's just start with a cool, calm head. Where are we going to attack first? What can help? And actually, one of the best things when we do AI consultancy is finding out that there's actually just a process solution.
Mm,
Just a process solution. It's just looking at things holistically and saying, hold on, this is silly.
right.
This is really silly. This is really silly what we're doing. And jamming AI is just going to make it even sillier.
Right. This is so great. Okay, one other thing came up for me because we've talked a lot about social enablement and digital twins and things, how we might be enabled from a digital perspective. But what is the value, or is there any value in the concept of being socially enabled in person as well? Because we have at the end of the day, we're all building relationships with people. We all have interactions that happen in person. I actually just like earlier today, there's a guy that I walk by on my walk almost every day. And I was like, this is now weird. Like we walk by every day and we say like, hey, every day, but I don't know what his name is. And that's weird. So I like stopped and we chatted for like 30 minutes. So we didn't walk. We should have walked while we were talking. That would have made sense. But like, what's the benefit of like having these skills and then being able to take them offline as well?
Oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, all of that digital B2B influence, social enablement skill is designed to put you in a place where people want to speak to you,
Right.
where people want to know you, want to speak to you. So would it be a bad thing if even though Mr. I hate social media, I'm too old, it's not going to work for me, would it be a bad thing if as a result of your online behavior in a very measured way, the way that you want to do it, that makes you feel comfortable, that people started reaching out to you and saying, I read your thing, it really resonated with me, you're speaking to the issues that I have, and no one speaks like that, and I would love to connect with you and have a conversation. With If that happened lots of times, would that be a bad thing? Well, no, that'd be great. That'd be great. So we have a he's actually texting me right now. We have a client who was a bit of a non-believer, but a big PLC who a bit of a non-believer, but he became the champion for a big pilot program that we did, and this has transformed his life. So we got to the end of the program, and we all actually went off-site. We all came together from all around the world, from Saudi, from Paris, Germany, from Houston, Texas, Aberdeen. It was phenomenal. From Malaysia, Italy, Germany, all of these people came together in one room in Aberdeen, and we all started going through what we'd been through and some practical examples. This particular guy stood up and said, so when I joined this program, I had 250 followers. I've now got 3,500 people who are following me. I've been invited on 4 technical webinars, and I've been invited to go and speak at an industry conference. For every one of these invitations that I've got, I've asked where this came from. We saw you on social media. We saw you in the B2B world, the world's largest digital networking platform, LinkedIn, with a billion followers and users these days. We saw you there, and we love what you're all about. He goes and he talks at these things. He talks about these things. People contact him and say, I loved what you just did. It was amazing. I saw you speak at that event. Would you come and talk to us? Because we need some of this in our organization, what you're talking about. We've never heard this before. Now, it might exist, but he is the digital voice. And all of this activity, including all the hi, can you come in and talk to us, all the direct commercial opportunities came from taking a step forward, taking a deep breath, sorting out what he wanted to appear as, and start to position content instead of just, we're doing a thing, you should love this thing, you should buy this thing because we love it. And we won another award. We're at another show, starting to write content that just just gets right into the limbic brain of their clients, the bit that can affect human behavior and decision making, the limbic brain. Most people are writing content that just appeals to the neocortex. I read it, I read the data, I process it, I analyze it, but it doesn't drive behavior.
Right.
So writing content that appeals to the limbic part of the brain, where people go, I need to get in touch with this person. I just don't know why. Well, you might say it's your gut feel or in your heart, as Simon Sinek would say, but your gut and your heart don't have decision-making powers. It's your limbic brain. And you start to write content that affects people where they want to go, I need to get this person's number. I just need to get it. I just need to connect with them and talk with them. Your commercial life will change.
So Mohammed is saying to brainwash them, basically.
To influence them.
Yes. Well, and this is the thing, like, people, we wander around the world with our own like thoughts in our head, right? And a lot of times we think we're the only people thinking those thoughts. But when you are out in the market sharing your thoughts, then all of a sudden people are like, oh, I was thinking that too. And now we're friends because we're thinking the same things. And that's the point. Like, I'm not actually brainwashing you. I'm like brain sharing you. Right? Like we've now created an opportunity for us to identify something we have in common. We have an alignment. And so now that's the basis for us to go somewhere, or maybe not, right? Like maybe we just be LinkedIn friends, and that's also fine. But the point is that we're not out here. Crazy stupid marketing isn't about trying to convince you you're doing crazy stupid things and here's what you should do instead because it's smarter. It's about people who are saying like, oh yeah, I've been looking at my marketing results and they're not really doing anything for me. So what are they talking about over here? Is that something that makes sense to me? I don't decide what makes sense to you, right? You decide what makes sense to you. I just say things.
Some of the biggest transformational changes that we've seen occur in businesses have come from one person who's just a little bit curious. Just a little bit curious enough to reach out and say, listen, we're not like this, but we've got some issues and we don't really understand this. Can you come and talk to us? That's where it all starts. That beautiful, and it all occurred through digital channels. All occurs through digital channels. Just that.
And I think sometimes personally, that has been easier for me, right? So like which is kind of crazy now because I've been in marketing for 20 years and you'd think I'd be more comfortable with this. But when you throw me in like a trade show booth and people are just trying to like rush by and there's thousands of people and you're like, who do I stop? Who do I spend talking time with? Do I like try and just talk to more people? Do I try like, there was always so much. It felt like overwhelming for me. Mm-hmm. And so in a digital sense, I can just like, I can send a message. I can talk to individual people. I don't have to like, I don't know, picking people out of the crowd seems different in that. To some degree, I let the algorithm do it. Who's the algorithm showing me today? Does that person look interesting? Let's have a conversation. But this is also part of the social enablement, is that things that might have seemed very difficult to do in an analog way, there might actually be a really enjoyable way for you to do them virtually, but only if you have the curiosity, like you said, Eric, to like ask the question and wonder.
And I would take that curiosity and I would I don't mean this in a hurtful or harmful way, but there's great beauty in, I don't mind when we meet people who are slightly resistant. I think there's beautiful opportunity in resistance, because resistance means if you're wanting to fight with me and wrestle with me on all the things that I'm talking about, at least you're still here. You haven't resigned and walked out the door. So there's beauty in resistance and there's opportunity in resistance. It's about meeting people where they are. But one of the things I often find is the curiosity is the sort of precursor and the starter, which is a great thing. But then what many people have to do is take a deep breath and park their ego. It's not a bad thing to say, I've been in business for 30 years. We were at the top of our game. Things have gone a little bit pear-shaped and we don't really understand why. And I don't get this. It's okay to say, I don't get this, because there are boffins like us, like you and I, who have invested years of our life, and we can bring all that to you and we can help you, right? So just put your hands up and say, okay, The world's moved on. I've had my head down building a business. I've been very technical and very commercial for years. And I looked up and suddenly everyone's going, community, influence, leadership, digital twins. And I just don't get it. It's okay. It's okay to say, I don't get this. Come and help us.
Yeah. Oh, man. You know, I wish I had somebody, I don't know, anybody in the audience is counting this, but I feel like we need to go back and count how many times stuff on this show comes down to ego.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
can we just check the ego to be like, you know what? I don't know what to do about this. I'm going to go talk to some people who seem to be knowledgeable, intelligent in the arena and try on what they say. Right?
Yeah,
This makes sense to me.
Where you have, and this happens regularly. You have a team of people in an organization who are just standing like thirsty dogs, going, "Give us all the skill, give us all the skills, give us all the tools. We want to go." And there'll be a senior in there, and just because their ego's in the way, we're not that type of company. We're not doing that. All of that opportunity is lost. It's gone because it'll never happen because of that one person or that one small group of people who are like, nah, it's not for us. We just do what we always do and it's cool. We just need to try harder and do more of it.
And when that starts working for you, this is where the crazy comes in. You know that definition of crazy where you keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result? Yeah, that's crazy.
That's when you'll have to start your new live stream called Just Do More of It and Spend More Money on it.
No, I can't do a live stream about that because I do not believe it. I mean, and even in that, right? Like even in that, there are people who will keep doing that because they're convinced that that's going to be the thing that's going to make the difference. And at the end of the day, you could listen to this entire hour and still think that leaving. Although most of the people I connect with probably aren't thinking that, but people could think that, and that's fine. Right? That's you. That's your journey. I don't get to control that. That's the journey you're on. And if you're at a part in your journey where you'd like to journey to a different destination, a different future you would like to have, and explore what are some of the things that could get us there, and how can we get our entire team on board? You know, one thing, I'm just going to touch on this and then we're going to wrap up. These employees that you have that are like hankering to do something meaningful. It's like, I've been one of them. I have led those people. And from a marketing department perspective, it's very dangerous to just send those people to create brochures on social media because they want to do something that's meaningful. They don't want to just do that. And so they're only going to stay for a very small amount of time doing that before they're like, this isn't worth it, right? Like, oh, let me try and go somewhere else. Maybe I'll try B2C agency or like something to like get my expression out. Those resources exist in your organization today.
Yep.
They want to go and create these opportunities. They just need the space, they need the permission, and they need some skills that can help them actually do that. But they exist there. So I don't know, maybe give them a chance.
Absolutely. And I guess my closing word would be to all the leadership teams that might be out there, to all the boards that are out there. Every single board in this world has a risk register. On that risk register are all the things that can do damage to this organization. The threat of the digital transformation of our commercial worlds needs to be on your risk register. Why? Because with every threat that's on the risk register, you need a strategy and you need mitigation. That is the precursor to, you know, my point is, if you're a board of directors and you're not openly discussing the digital transformation of our commercial worlds and what we're doing, not to just chip away at that or try a little thing, but to actually strategize how we're going to change our commercial outlook, including things like AI, including business storytelling, all of these things that can give you that edge digitally. I'm not saying it's too late, but you're missing. The train is pulling out of the station.
Other people are doing it. Your competitors are doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah. It's this isn't just, you know, messing around on social media. This is commercially sensitive and business critical.
Mm-hmm. Well, I am with you on that, and I will tell you personally, it's been a game changer for me because having a platform to like show people who I am and what I believe and create like my little niche. Yeah, there's a lot of people talking about marketing, but this is not everybody talking about marketing. This is me, and this is a different perspective, and this is for people who think differently.
Are you saying this is a cult, Tracy Borison?
It's a cult. You guys drank the Kool-Aid and now you're in. I brainwashed all of you. Did you see what happened? No, the point is that I found my people, right? Like you find your people doing that, and your people are, Eric, like you were talking about, people who want to work for you, people who want to invest in you, people who want to mentor you, people who want to buy your stuff. That's your people. But they can't self-identify as such if you don't give them something to self-identify with.
Correct. If you're invisible, you're not there. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So Eric and I could continue talking about this forever, except we're going to leave it there for today. Eric, where is the best place for people to find you if they would like to connect with you or learn more about what you guys are doing over at Crux?
You can find me on most digital media channels. The company name is Consult Crux. You can get me at Eric Doyle. I'm the only person in the world who looks like this. My son, who's now 20 and very brave these days, told me I look like a thumb with a picture of Eric Doyle written on it. Yeah, so that's where you can. I'm easy to spot. I look like this. I'm probably wearing the same shirt. I put on a nice shirt for Tracy's show. So yeah, you can find me. Eric Doyle's the name, and if you want to chat about anything, that would be really, really cool. But it's just a pleasure to be back speaking with you, Tracy. It's brilliant.
Always a pleasure, Eric. And for those of you who are not already connected to Eric, he is tagged in the post for this event as well, so you can just click on his name and then find him that way. Or if you're listening to this somewhere in the atmosphere and all the clicks have gone away, and you're connected to me, then just ask me and I will intro you, Eric. Also fine. And if you don't know me, connect with me too. We're all about people finding their ways to achieve the things that they want to achieve. And so whether you know what that is today, or you're in the process of figuring that out, or you have a really cool idea, but you haven't been successful in getting there, there is a conversation to be had. So come and get in the conversation. And for those of you in the conversation today, social enablement, this is a practice. This is an activity. This is something that we do on an ongoing basis to actually be enabled and stay enabled. And so don't let this be the last time you're in a conversation about social enablement. If that is something that is top of mind for you, make sure to connect with me, connect with Eric, connect with each other, and stay in the conversation about social enablement to bring it to life. And with that, my friends, that's it. That's it for today. I feel like I ran out of words. I now run out of words. And so until next time, everybody, permission
Thanks,
to
everyone.
you.
Thanks, Tracy. Bye-bye.